Hello everybody and welcome to OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. I'm Jack and today I am here with a video sort of wrapping up the season for me. It doesn't look like I'm going to be going to Worlds, I'm not going to NAIC, and then the two big tournaments left for the year. I have points from two cups from this quarter, so I probably won't be playing very much in actual tournaments until the new season rolls around now. Of course that's actually only in around 3 weeks time in Valencia. But like I say, that will be the new season, so we wanted to get this. I wanted to get this video out sooner rather than later, as my 2017-2018 season is pretty wrapped up. This is a video I saw on Seagrove's channel, really enjoyed it, and wanted to do something similar, taking a look at my tournaments this year, how I've done as a player, and where I want to improve, or how I want to improve for next year. So we'll jump straight into it with an overall summary. 403 championship points, nothing great, but well over the threshold for this year's invite. I personally wanted to make 400 points just because I can see the invite going up this year. I don't think it'll go up by any more than, or go up further than 400, so 400 was where I wanted to make, and I did indeed do that. That was across 21 different events, various regionals, special events, league cups, and of course EUIC. My most successful deck, in my opinion, was Gardevoir GX, variants of. I made, I think, nearly the whole of my invite through a Gardevoir deck, so that was definitely where I shined. And my most successful events, points-wise, was technically London Internats, but that was only a top 128. My best finish was actually Leipzig Regionals, which was a top 16, though you do get more points from an Internat, so that's why there are indeed sort of two of my most successful events. Onto the events themselves, I've split it up into each of the 4 quarters, looking at cups and then looking at bigger events. So for my first quarter cup, this was obviously breakthrough to Burning Shadows. This was the sort of hot off the heels of Worlds. There was some weird events in this quarter, but in general it was just post-rotation stuff just after Worlds. Kicked things off right at the start of the season with the Greninja top 4 in Loughborough League Cup. This was actually my sort of forfeit deck for the World Championships draft. I had to play 4 Timer, Ball and 4 Energy Lotto, and then had to build a deck around those, and I actually ended up getting top 4 with this deck. I lost to Vikabulu in the top 4 against one of my friends, Ben Pollock, who hadn't been playing since for pretty much a year, so it was a really good performance from him as well. And then we saw they went on to the final for him and Luke Kirkham to then play in the final. But yeah, kicked off the season well with a bit of a meme deck. That was a lot of fun. Then my next cup was actually the Day 2 Bremen Regionals Cup, where I played Gardevoir Sylveon to a top 32. There was actually enough people for the top 32 points, and I got 16 points. But that was quickly overwritten by Gardevoir Sylveon then being played at a Canuck League Cup, where I top 16'd and got 20 points for that. So I quickly overwrote that, and as you can see, I got points from 2 cups in the first quarter, one with Greninja and one with Gardevoir Sylveon. Onto the bigger events. There was actually 3 quarter 1 events that I attended. There was Liverpool Regionals, where I played Decidueye, Alolan, and Ninetales. This was actually pre-rotation, very similar to how Valencia is going to be this year. So things like Forest were in play, or in format. A lot of the acceleration that Grass had was still being played. Unfortunately, I didn't do great. Wasn't able to make points there. I actually had a pretty bad quarter for Regionals in quarter 1, despite there being 3. Bremen, I played Gardevoir Sylveon, and again, unfortunately, wasn't able to make points there. And finally, in the Bilbao special event, which was expanded, I played Turtonator Volcanion, and I actually got 0 points there, but it was a bubble. I came 34th, and which bubbled 32nd, or top 32, and top 32 was points. So I technically was on the record for points. I unfortunately just bubbled because I lost my first couple of rounds, so my resistance was super bad. But yeah, so I technically could have made points if tiebreakers and things had gone slightly differently. So Bilbao was kind of a success in my eyes. I feel like I can grant that I made points at that event, but technically no points from larger events in the first quarter, unfortunately. On to the second quarter, I attended 4 cups. Chesterfield was just like literally the weekend after EUIC, and I played Broken Voir, which was basically Gardevoir with 4 max potions, and I top forward there, losing to Ryan Morehouse, who was playing Zoropod. Me and Ryan have played a lot this season, especially in top 8s and top 4s, and unfortunately he's always got the better of me. But next year I'm definitely going to give it a go. He's, I think, currently ranked number 2 in the UK, so he's a fantastic player. And there's not many people I might like. There's no way I mind losing to Ryan. He's a really analytic player, and he's been playing for so long. So these were never sort of salty losses, other than if they were him drawing the uber nuts, which unfortunately has happened in the past. But yeah, top 32 was still really good. This was sort of the 4th or 5th event I played Gardevoir in a row, and that's hence why it was pretty much my most successful deck. You'll see why. You'll see another reason why momentarily. We then headed all the way to Norwich to Athena Games for an expanded League Cup, where I played Buzzwole Bats, which was very similar to Landy Bats in the day, which is a deck that I am very familiar with and have done well with in the past. Top 4 that, sorry, with 32 points. There was actually only a top 4 cut there, so it was a super close tournament. Ended up losing to Tubbs Walnut in the top 8, who was playing Seismitoad Surviper. Unfortunately, couldn't really ever get out of the Quaking Punch lock, but it was still a lot of fun, and I've been able to say I've been to Athena Games now, which was definitely on my bucket list for this season. Canuck was my next League Cup, playing Xerneas Break. I actually top 32, but there wasn't enough players, of course, as it wasn't pretty much regional League Cups, so there was only top 16 points for that, so unfortunately I didn't make points. I didn't have a great day with that, and actually it's the only event I've ever played Xerneas in, and it will probably be the only event I ever play Xerneas in. I really didn't get on with the deck. Unfortunately, that's one for Luke, Joe, and Tamau, I think. And then finally, Loughborough Cup, I top 8'd with my Sylveon list. Unfortunately, though, since I'd had 2 top 4s that quarter, these points were pretty much overwritten. I lost to Seb Simmons, who recently won the Sheffield Regional Championships, so again, another fantastic player. Unfortunately, I had a slight deck list error, which meant I had a very good matchup in top 8, but unfortunately I went into it with a game loss. And the thing with Sylveon is it can easily get donked, and unfortunately I won game 2, but was donked game 3, which was really unfortunate, but again, a fantastic player and a deserved winner. And if there's one thing I've learned over the past few months of playing, it's make sure you check your deck list, because this has happened a couple of times now. It hasn't happened in any big events since my big blunder last season, but I think this is the only time I've ever had any issues with a deck list this year, which is much better than last year, let's say that. But yeah, this was kind of, I think this was a week or 2 before Leipzig Regionals, and this was kind of what locked in for me, the fact I was going to be playing Sylveon. On to the bigger events. London Internats, I played Gardevoir Sylveon. I'd heard what Broken Gardevoir was, but didn't have enough time to put testing into it, so I couldn't actually play it. I top 128'd, but I actually bubbled again with the same record as top 64. I believe I came 68th, so it was a super close bubble. Could have made 30 more points, but even so, I was still really happy with my performance. And it was another successful Gardevoir run, which again kind of solidifies the fact that Gardevoir has been my most successful deck this season. I also played in Leipzig Regionals, where I played Sylveon GX Mill. The meta was completely full of Zoroarks, and it was the perfect meta pretty much for a mill deck, and I was able to make top 16 there. I think I possibly could have done better. Unfortunately, I screwed up a couple of games on day 1, which meant I went in with not as strong of a record as I wanted. But even so, I really enjoyed the event. I don't think I'll ever play mill again. I think I've done it. I think I've sort of scratched the itch, and I won't need to play it again. But it was fun playing a different kind of archetype. I think I'd rather stick to other stuff from now on. But it was, at least during that tournament, I enjoyed myself and felt I haven't played a deck better than I have that deck, or haven't known a list better than I have that list, either that or Gardevoir this year. So that was 180 points in quarter 2 just from small events. Plus, if you factor in the 64 points from cups, I actually nearly made my invite in quarter 2 exactly. And by the end of quarter 2, because of the quarter 1 points, I'd actually made my invite by Leipzig regionals. So from there on, I kind of, I don't want to say I gave up, but I started playing more janky stuff, which you'll see going into this. Quarter 3 cups, I actually played the most cups in quarter 3, which is probably a bad idea because it was around where uni was starting to pick up, but I couldn't help. Couldn't tear myself away from the game. In Malmo regionals, played in the Day 2 Cup, played Gardevoir GX, and top 8'd. It was, I believe, Lapras Glaceon that actually knocked me out in the top 8. I'm pretty sure I misplayed pretty hard out of that game from what I remember. But yeah, that was a good way to kick off the third quarter. Canuck, I played Turbo Metal, a list that I'd been developing with, or chatting to about with Luke and Scott Simmons, the father of Sev Simmons, another fantastic player as well. But unfortunately didn't do great. I hit some pretty awkward matchups from what I remember, but in general I just didn't really get on with the deck. I got quite unlucky in a couple of the rounds against things like Ho-Kiawe, where you're both a one-shot deck, but if either of you misses a beat, the other one usually wins. And also a Vikabulu, which actually sort of just drew the nuts game 3. There was it was one of those Vikabulu games where nothing beats a Vikabulu that draws that well. It was really unfortunate because it turned out he actually had a deck list error and hadn't written rare candies on his list, so later on he dropped, which then screwed my resistance out of top 16. I think I had a similar record to top 16. I don't think I bubbled. I can't remember the exact record though. But unfortunately that also screwed my resistance up, which wasn't great, but either way, it was a deck I wanted to try out and personally didn't enjoy too much, but that's the kind of thing you want to be testing at Cups, I feel. Then headed to Wakefield, the weekend Zoroark Lucario, or the weekend Lucario became legal. And top 8 at that cup, Lucario was a fantastic card for me all day, and Zoroark Lucario is actually one of my favourite decks that I've played this year. Top 8 to, or lost in top 8 to Ryan Morehouse again, who's playing Buzzrock. So again, it was a pretty good player that knocked me out. I think I didn't have too good of a chance in the rest of the top 8 because there was a lot of anti-Zoroark around. It's like there was a few Buzzwalls. I think there was a mill in top 8 as well. Though I may be mixing it up with a different Wakefield tournament. But even so, I don't think I had much of a chance further than that. But it was, like I say, I think Ryan went on to win that cup as well. So again, very, very good performance from him. Cardiff League Cup, went and played Zoroark Gardevoir. This actually, hands down, is my favourite deck of this season. Zoroark Gardevoir is so much fun. There's so much control with this deck. I actually, even though I've only played it in one tournament, I think it's without a doubt my favourite deck I've played this year. Unfortunately, top 16, there wasn't quite enough players for points for top 16. Lost my winning in to Tom Hall playing Buzz Garb, I believe he was playing. We had a really, really fun series that went down to the third turn of time. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to make points, though I wasn't, or make top 8. I wasn't too salty as it was a 3-hour drive, so it meant we were getting home that little bit earlier. I think we didn't get home until around 11 PM anyway, which was crazy. And then finally went back to Loughborough, played Buzzwell Lycanroc, and again, but the Loughborough format is actually best of 1, and unfortunately, what it came down to was pretty much a Ho-Kiawe that I prized all 3 of my outs to the matchup win in. He was able to knock out my first Lycanroc pretty early. I prized my other Rockruff. I prized an E-Switch to be able to Knuckle Impact one of the turns, and I also prized my Sudowoodo. All of those were very good outs for the matchup, but unfortunately I wasn't able to find any of them, and because it was best of 1, pretty much if you don't find your outs or if you prize your outs, it's a lot more harsh than if you are playing best of 3. So that was unfortunate, but still got some experience with Buzzwole. I think I remember coming out of that tournament saying this is probably the most powerful deck I've ever played. I just can't play it very well. So I sort of set my mind to trying to play the deck a little bit more. The only regional in quarter 3 was Malmo, and as you can see, I really had some fun with Malmo. I should have played a better deck, but I decided just to play Magnezone. I had my invite. I enjoy Rain Dance decks, and I really wanted to Timeless GX people. So I just went with Magnezone. I didn't expect to do well, and as you can see, I didn't do well. I didn't make points there, But I had so much fun, and I actually did get a turn 2 Timeless into a turn 3 Meteor Tempest off one of the games, which was probably one of my highlights of the season, which is a lot of fun. This is also where I first developed my idea for Zoroark Magnezone, which is a sort of a pet deck to me. I've never really played it much further, but it's a deck that I really, really enjoyed developing the night before with Luke, Joe, and I think Alex and James were also pretty hands-on with the deck as well. So that was a lot of fun. Tamao also got involved. So there was a lot of minds trying to make Zoroark Magnezone work, but unfortunately it wasn't quite good enough, so I just ended up playing regular Magnezone. And again, like I say, didn't do very well, but I had a ton of fun during the tournament. On to the Quarter 4 Cups. I actually only, sort of, the Quarter 4 has only started a few weeks ago, and they're all very, very bunched up since it's only around half the length of a regular quarter. So we actually ended up doing a double League Cup the weekend before Sheffield, just after all my exams were finished. I played Buzzwole Lycanroc in Huddersfield, and as you can see, it went a little bit more successfully. In top 8, I was able to knock out Jake Malander, who was playing Zoroark Weavile, and in top 4, I lost to Joe, who was playing Malamana Crozma. It was actually a super exciting series because I was able to pretty much steal a game 1. I had the most insane turn I've had in a long time. It was pretty much, I started the board with 2, I think it was a Rockruff and a Remoraid. And by the end of the turn, I had a Lycanroc that had knocked out a Pokemon. I had 2 Buzzwoles, or a Buzzwole with 2 energy on it, or something like that, and a baby Buzzwole, which was pretty much set up just out of nowhere. So it was an insane turn, and I thought that had secured victory, but unfortunately, again in game 3, I threw pretty hard. I benched an EX a turn earlier than I needed to, which meant he was able to push me out of B-string range, which meant I wasn't able to actually develop a big enough board to see me through the rest of the game, which was super unfortunate. But I learned from it, and obviously it was to Joe, so it wasn't too salty anyway. He went on to win the cup as well, which was really, really good. And then the next day in Chesterfield, played Lucario GX and Friends, which is a deck developed by Tamao and Luke. I also decided to get in on it. I'd been testing something similar, or at least testing pretty much straight Lucario ever since Forbidden Light hit. And actually all 3 of us top 8'd with the deck, which is really, really cool. Luke went on to win that cup with a very similar list. I actually lost in top 8 to Greninja, to Chandler Gregory. Unfortunately, it was a pretty standard game 2 and 3. Yeah, it was a pretty standard game 2 and 3. I was able to aggress in game 2 really, really early and win the game. He was able to pretty much set up a board of Greninjas and win the 3rd game. But in game 1, he actually presented a board that board state to me that I could actually destroy on turn 1. He was only able to find 1 Pokemon. And I pretty much had, I think it was a 13 card dig into my deck and missed energy. Bearing in mind the deck was playing 9 energy. 9 isn't great, but you should be able to hit one from a 13 card dig. And I missed it, and he went on to pretty much set 3 Greninjas up and just control the game from there. So I think I was actually super close to winning that series. That series would have gone down to him pretty much losing on dead draw, which would have been unfortunate, but it could have meant a top 4 for me. If I had beat Chandler, I would have played, I believe, Zoroark in the Zoroark in top 4, which was a very, very good matchup for the deck. So had things gone ideally, I would have ended up meeting Luke in the finals for a mirror match. I think I probably would have lost the mirror match because Luke is, in my opinion, a better player than me, and also had tested the deck a lot more than me. So I think I probably would have lost in the mirror match, but it would have actually meant I made a finals, which is unfortunately not something I've done yet. But yeah, the deck was really, really fun, and I think it's one that still really has potential, if I'm honest. It's just about getting that list right, I think. The only quarter 4 region I played in was Sheffield Regionals. This past weekend, actually, I did not do very well, and I actually didn't do very well in the event overall. I decided to play Buzzwole Lycanroc. I honestly have never felt more unprepared for an event in the past. I was changing my deck up until the night before, which is something I really advocate you don't do. But I just couldn't settle on a list. I couldn't settle on a deck I liked. I'd heard rumours that there was going to be a lot of sort of Zoroark, so I wanted to play Buzzwole, but then was scared of all the Malamars. And in the end, I just ended up going with a list very similar to Xander Perot's, who did well a couple of weeks ago in Madison. I really like his list. I actually think I prefer it slightly to Eagles. So I went with something very similar to that. I actually played some spicy techs in there though. But unfortunately, I pretty much used all my luck up for the first 2 rounds. I beat 2 Malamars on the bounce. Was super hyped. I thought this is my day. Then lost a Mirror because the Mirror is about who high rolls more. Then lost a Greninja to Dedrill. Then lost a Malamar in a more conventional manner where the Malamar player was able to set up a pretty strong board state that I couldn't really beat very well. And then ended up, I think I pretty much, I then lost to Lapras, so I ended up with a 2-4 record and decided to drop and chill out for the rest of the day. Because I had my invite, I wasn't too bothered. I kind of was there to enjoy myself, play Cube, and see everyone anyway, so I wasn't too bothered, but it would have been good to close out the regionals, at least with some the season, at least with some points. But either way, it was a lot of fun. This weekend has probably been the most exciting or most fun tournament I've been to this year. And I'm really, really looking forward to getting back into it sort of next season. So, breakdown, 223 points from League Cups. I haven't actually made a final yet, and thus haven't won a cup yet. And you'll see, I'll chat about that momentarily. 4 top 4s and 3 top 8s. I think I've played, I believe, 12 cups, so I've cut over half of them. And I think I've made points from 8 out of 12, I think. Maybe somewhere similar. It's not, maybe that's not quite right, but it's somewhere similar. My favourite deck this year, I should talk about the 180 points from larger events as well. I've actually only day 2'd once, which is below or less than I day 2'd last year, which is unfortunate. But even so, it was still a good day 2. I was happy with it. Like I say, my favourite deck this year has been Zoroark Gardevoir. The control with that deck, the sheer power it has is insane. It was a shame I wasn't able to play it a little bit more, and it's a shame it's not very good now. But that being said, it was a lot of fun to play, and I think Gardevoir has been one of my favourite cards printed this year. So on to next season. As you may have heard, I'm not going to Worlds this year. I'm pretty much 99% sure I won't be going, which is unfortunate. But next year I want to get my Worlds invite again. I'm pretty sure now I've done it, I can do it again. I really, really think I am at the point where I shouldn't not be getting my Worlds invite at this point. I feel like I'm a good enough player to be able to do it every year. So next season, that is one of my goals, of course. Of course, my second goal is indeed to win a cup. I actually still haven't won a cup. Like I say, I haven't made a final. So there is no way I'm coming out of next season without not just making a final, but winning a cup. It's happening. I'm going to really, really go for cups next year. Unfortunately, it's my final year of uni, so these achievements may not, or these, I guess they're achievements that I'm aiming to go for, may not be quite achievable because of the amount of work I'm going to have to put into school next year. But even so, I'd still like to make all of these. 3 day 2s, that's a bit of a jump from 1, but the season before I made 2. And I think I'm capable of 3 if I focus, put my mind to it. Day 2ing a regional shouldn't be too difficult. I've done it before and I want to be able to do it again. So my aim for next year is to make 3 day 2s. And of course, I wanted to break 400 points this year. So onwards and upwards, I want to break 500 points next year. I again think that's definitely doable. I think if I had maybe not played so many memes towards the end of the season, I could have perhaps done it this year, but I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see how it goes next year. But those are my personal goals. You may see them as unrealistic. You may see them as kind of maybe they're too easy. I don't know. But those are my personal goals with what I have going on with uni next year. And more than anything, thank you for the support. As you can see, might not be going to Worlds this year, but 2019 I'm going to be there. And I hope to see you all there. Thank you so much for all of the support this year. Every single one of you has helped me improve, even if it's just sitting watching through some boring Sylveon gameplay. It's been really, really helpful. The support has been insane. People coming up to me at events and saying, "Hi, are you Jack? It's nice to meet you," that kind of stuff. That's what we do it for. It's nice to see you guys and hopefully help you guys improve at the game, that kind of thing. And yeah, I really feel like I'm getting somewhere as a player now. Not quite top tier, but I feel like if I carry on the way I'm going in an upward direction, which is where I want to be. So yeah, I have, like I say, I have plans for next season. Not only that, we have lots of plans for OmniPoke as well. Me and Joe are currently developing some ideas about an update video that is coming your way, ready for next season. And there's lots of stuff in the pipeline with other sources as well. So thank you so much again for the support. It really helps. Everything, all of that stuff is really useful, and it's really nice to see you guys supporting us. I know Joe is doing a very similar video to this. Hopefully it'll be released in the next couple of days. We'll be streaming as usual. You may have seen I'm playing some games now as well on the channel, which is a lot of fun whilst I have some free time. And Valencia is in 3 weeks' time, so the new season actually kicks off in 3 weeks' time, which is really fun. Looking forward to that. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from OmniPoke, and I look forward to seeing you in the 2018-2019 season.